Hey everybody, I am actually on the road right now, not at home and not in my usual recording environment. And yet I had this idea that I came across and thought I haven't done a thought of the day video in a while and thought maybe I would do that. So I have this thought of the day that's kind of a continuation of one of my last thought of the day videos that I did. I believe it was on the one called Imposter Syndrome. And we had some reflections on imposter syndrome and the concept of knowing who you are and knowing who you're not. And you could even go back and find that video and kind of review maybe some of those conversations if you wanted to. But we were talking about like part of taking criticism and part of dealing with this sense of like, am I even supposed to be doing some of these things that I'm doing? Am I an imposter? Is there part of dealing with this is knowing who you are and who you're not. I was listening to a podcast, not a spiritual podcast, not a churchy reflection podcast. And yet they were talking, these actors were talking about the audition process with other actors. And one of the things they talked about in the audition process is when you go in for these auditions to get a part as an actor, they said you really have to be able to go into these auditions with this sense of, I'm the right person for this job. Like, I'm the person that can help you accomplish the goals you have for this movie or this TV series or whatever the job is. I'm the person you want. And what they were talking about was not a sense of arrogance. It wasn't a sense of, it wasn't overconfidence. And I'm not even sure if confidence is the right word, although I think it's getting close. It was this self-awareness and a posture that wasn't constantly questioning yourself. But I'm here to do this. This is what I do, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this. And it made me think as I was on the road talking to so many people how often I see this very similar posture in a spiritual context, in a pastoral conversation, when we talk about discipleship or any kind of spiritual leadership, and there is this sense of like, well, who am I? And I'm always just kind of like, I'm always stepping back and reacting to the world around me, and I'm always just taking from, and I need this person, and I need that pastor, and I need this spiritual leader, and I need this church, and I need, because I can't do it on my own. And there's something about this conversation that struck me in a spiritual sense about when you know who you are and when you know who you're not. So not when you're overinflating who you are, not overinflating your ego, and definitely not arrogance, and definitely not overconfidence. But when you simply know, you have a humble awareness of who you are, you approach spiritual conversations, you approach spiritual leadership, you can approach discipleship with a sense of, this is what I'm here to do. I'm showing up to do this. I have something to give. I don't have everything to give. I'm not Jesus. I can't fill in everybody's blanks, and I don't have every single answer, and I'm not the best of the best at whatever it is, but I have something to give. I have something to offer, and I'm here to do this. I'm here to do this. I'm going to make mistakes. I am going to make mistakes, but I'm here to give. Not just take, but give. It reminded me of another quote that I ran across that I believe is usually attributed to Martin Luther King Jr. I'm not sure if that's an appropriate attribution. I've never been able to chase it down. So I don't know if that's appropriately attributed, but I'm gonna assume for now. But if it was MLK Jr., he said, he talked about the difference between being a thermometer and being a thermostat. Being a thermometer or being a thermostat. You can engage life, you can engage discipleship, you can engage spiritual formation as a thermometer. You are simply reacting to the environment around you. The environment is one way, and you kind of end up reacting. You're just taking from the environment around you and reacting to that. Or you can be a thermostat. You can be the thing that has an impact on the environment. You can actually influence the environment around you. So what are you going to be, a thermometer or a thermostat? And that same train of thought came back to me as I was considering these actors saying, man, when you go into this audition, you got to feel like you're supposed to be there. You got to have this sense of like, this is what I'm here to do. This is what I'm here to give. I'm in the right place. And it's not that I'm perfect. It's not that but I have something to do. And I feel like in the church, the conversation we so often have is just thermometer conversation. It's not a sense of like, I have something to give and I have something to do. I'm far from perfect and I'm not Jesus and all these, but I do have something to contribute. I do have something to share. I do have something to give. And there's always somebody in front of me. We better always have somebody in front of us. Always people we're looking up to, people we're chasing, people that shape us, that call us to be better, that we learn from in all kinds of ways. Hopefully there's always people in front of us. People that are a little bit further down the path, whether that's the path of life or maturity or wisdom or in our field of vocation or what we try to do or the kinds of things that we give our lives to. Hopefully there's always people in front of us, people that are a little bit better than us, that we're chasing, but there's always also somebody behind us. There's always somebody behind you. And so there's always an opportunity for you to give. And we need to be more aware of the fact that there are places where we can show up with that same sense that those actors were talking about in the audition. We can show up and we can say, no, I'm here for this. This is what I'm here to do. And I'm far from perfect, but I have something to give. Rather than just being spiritual consumers. And not consumers, I'm not critiquing consumption, but I'm critiquing this posture that says, well, all I'm here to do is learn, because who am I? Who are you? You're somebody that God's put here to do something in the world. Do you know what that is? Do you, and maybe not in a big, but even in little daily moments, conversations, rooms that you find yourselves in, small groups, whatever. You find yourselves in these situations at work, at church, at home. Do you know as a parent? Do you know as an employee? Do you know as a supervisor or a boss or an employer? This is what I'm here to do. And I have something to give. I have something to say, and it's going to make the world a better place. I am a thermostat, not just a thermometer. There's something about that. It seems like we always deal with two extremes. People that are overconfident, arrogant, narcissistic, overinflated. I know that's what I battle with as a spiritual leader and a teacher and somebody that has a voice that gets used. I struggle with an overinflated sense of self. But then there's a whole nother group of us that struggle with an underinflated, like I'm just here to learn. I'm just here to grow. I'm just here to take. And can we be encouraged today to show up and say, I have something to do. I'm here to do this. I am what's needed in this moment. I'm not perfect, but I'm what's needed. And I'm going to give of what I have to impact the world around me, to positively influence my environment. There was one last piece that I ran into this week that kind of prompted me to make this video. Like usually I'll have a thought kind of bumbling around in my head. I don't think about making a reflection. I don't think about making a video. I'm not even sure if this video is any good. But the thing that will kind of usually get me to like go, okay, I need to talk about that. I need to make a little video about that. I need to have a thought of a day reflection. It is usually this thing will come up 2 or 3 times. And so I'm on this trip and it came up for like the 3rd time, the same kind of concept, at least as I was hearing it. And it was in this book. So I'm on the road with one of my best friends I grew up with. And his name's Dallas. And he gave me this children's book to look at while I was here. So I wanted to make this video before I left because I wanted to use it. It's this book, children's book called Trying. It's written by Kobe Yamada. Trying by Kobe Yamada, illustrated by Elise Hurst. It says, it's a children's book, and it's a children's book. I'll read it for you, don't worry. Here we go, okay? The book starts, says, how do you do that? He looks at a room full of sculptures, and you can see here in the distance a sculptor doing his work up on a ladder. It says, I didn't realize I had said it out loud, but the sculptor looked over and replied, you simply do it. Oh no, I could never do that. How do you know? He asked. I just know. Confused, I walked away. He must be joking, I thought. But as I left, I couldn't help wondering what it would be like to create something so incredible. He leaves the sculptor's presence. He sees the things the sculptor's able to do. He'd love to be able to do it. The sculptor says, you simply do it. That's the great wisdom from the sculptor. You just do it. How do I do that? You just do it. He's like, whatever, that's crazy. When I returned, the sculptor looked over at me and asked, how is your sculpture? How is your sculptor coming along? Your sculpture, how is it coming along? I'm just here to watch. The best way to give your talents an opportunity is to try, he responded. I'd rather just watch. I can't mess things up if I just watch. Been there before. Ah, yes, he nodded. If you do nothing, it feels safe, but everything stays the same. If you do nothing, there's less to experience, less to love, and less to learn. The fear of failing is the scariest part, and it stops most people from starting. The only way to get where you want to go is to take a step in that direction. And the best way to do that is to begin. There he is sleeping in a bed, if you can see that. And these, I think, represent his dreams. It says, it was all I could think about. Even as I slept, I dreamt of creating beautiful things. I was excited, and I got started. But as I was working, I realized that something was wrong. With every strike, I felt a little more deflated. With every blow, my disappointment grew. This was not turning out the way I had imagined. Why did I think I could do it? Why had I let myself care about this so much? The next time I saw the sculptor, he asked about my work. I told him it was no good and I had to quit. Why would you do that? He asked. Because it feels so awful to want something so badly and then just be disappointed. Yes, the sculptor replied. Disappointment hurts, but failure is temporary and in many ways necessary. It shows us how something can't be done, which means we are a little closer to finding out how it can. When you first tried to walk, you fell, but you picked yourself up and tried again. You were willing to fail over and over and over, and that is why you succeeded. How do I know this? You are standing in front of me now. I had tried, and I had failed. Now he was asking me to try again? What good would that do? I had already proven I couldn't do it. But if I was honest, I wanted to believe that I could. So even though I worried that I wasn't good enough, I decided to try again. I worked and worked and then worked some more. And while I could see it was a little better, it still wasn't all that I had wanted it to be. I stormed up to the sculptor. See? I told you I wasn't any good, and this proves it. Are you happy now? Yes, he replied. I am happy. It's good to see you sculpting. But it's terrible. I don't even know what I'm making anymore. You're making progress, he explained. I see talents emerging. I see risks being taken. I see courage. I see caring. I see perseverance. Yes, I see much progress indeed. And I hope you will keep trying. I tried again, and again and again. As I stepped back and I looked at my work, I had to admit, I wished I was better. I went to talk to the sculptor, and he asked me to go on a walk with him. He said, I know it can be hard when things don't turn out as you had hoped, but be proud of your failures. I know I am, every one of them. I can't imagine you ever failing. He laughed, more times than I can count, but each time you fail, you get a little smarter, a little braver, a little stronger. The truth is, we are all failures. The dreamers, the doers, the creators. Being a failure means you loved something. You cared. It means you stepped forward. You didn't hold back. You tried. That is why I brought you here. He gestured to the statues around him. These are my friends. These are my failures. And I'm grateful for every one of them because they helped me become who I am today. I will tell you a secret, the sculptor confided. I am now much closer to the end of my life than the beginning. And time passes whether we have the courage to do something good and worthwhile or we don't. It's been years since he's been gone. I will always treasure the time I spent with him. I will never forget our conversations or what he taught me. When we make it safe to fail, we make it safe to succeed. There's this picture of him sculpting, and the sculptor sits in the background. And the last page is a new character saying to that new sculptor, how do I do that? And I loved that, because this sense of being what keeps us often from being the thermostat, and what keeps us often from showing up at the audition, because we believe that we have something to say. We're the right person for the job. There's something we can give to this effort. The thing that keeps us from that is realizing all the ways it could go wrong, realizing all the ways it could fail, realizing all the ways that it's not going to be the best, it's not going to be good enough. And yet, the only way forward is to keep going, keep showing up, keep trying, keep realizing that we have something to say, something to give, something to do to influence the world around us. We'll make mistakes. We'll be far from perfect. But in that, we will keep becoming the people that God wants us to be, until one day we will look back and realize that we have now become the very people that are mentoring, apprenticing, helping, guiding those behind us. We still will be imperfect. And yet that's how this process works. So I guess my encouraging thought of the day, I hope it's encouraging, is to seize this self-awareness that realizes that you do have something to give the environment around you. You are able to be a thermostat, not just a thermometer. You are able to impact the world around you. You can show up with your head held high, your chest out just a little bit, your shoulders back, and this sense of I'm the person that's here, and I have something to contribute, and there's somebody here that I can help, and there's somebody here that I can lead, and there's somebody here that I can encourage, and there's somebody here that I can guide, imperfectly, but me being here as a part of this thing going forward and a part of this thing succeeding. So may it be so. May we move forward in an effort to engage this thing that God has called us to. May we be called off the sidelines, and may we find ourselves with a slightly different posture, not a cowering posture of not good enough, But this self-awareness that says, oh, I'm far from perfect, but I have something to do, something to give, something to say. And again, not in an arrogant way, not in a self-righteous way. We have enough of that. None of that. In a humble, I'm the person for this situation. There's a reason that I'm here. And I want to humbly offer who I am, what I know, what I see to the world around me, so that all of us together can move forward. So may you have the courage, the bravery to try.